Evening and welcome to City Focus. I'm Marty Olsen, your host, and tonight I'm delighted to bring back on the set beloved Grace Carter. And she, for those of you who don't recall, she ran for mayor last year against Michael Passero, and I think she performed herself very, very well as a candidate, and she was on the Republican ticket, and I want to welcome you back, so thank you.
My pleasure, Marty. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you.
So, and she's a candidate again this fall, running for the 39th District State Rep seat, currently held by Anthony Nolan. But I know that you're interested in at least spending some of our time tonight discussing Juneteenth, which is now a national holiday, and the federal workers and postal workers have the day off, and but it's more than a day off, it's a holiday with merit.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to let you speak to that, and why Juneteenth is important, why it has become a holiday, and etc. So have at it.
Oh, thank you very much, Marty. Well, to me, it's good. I'm glad you invited me for Juneteenth. It's very important to me, Juneteenth. It has a lot of significance. We know that the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln, I'm just going to give you some brief information, and I'll
Sure.
fill in the gaps as we go along. But 1865, a general marched to Galveston in his army to announce to those who didn't know, we had no cell phones back then, no Facebook, so a lot of enslaved people did not know that they were already free. They had been free for some time. And to my knowledge, some of the people who were the slave owners did know, but they didn't release the people. So the general, I think his name was Graham Gardner, he came and he announced by federal law, you have to release these people. And that's where Juneteenth came in, because they found out like the 19th of June. And it's really amazing to me. We have a lot of the same problems today, I think, biblically, naturally, that a lot of people are enslaved, if you will, and don't know that they're free. And this country was really created or built on the fact that liberty and justice for all, according to the Constitution and Bill of Rights and all that, all those other papers. And it's important to people to know, to go back to what we originally established as the founding principles of this country. To me, Juneteenth is a day of remembrance, but it's also a day of looking forward to what life is supposed to look like based on our historical evidence, you know, what our founding fathers did, what they believed. I wouldn't say so much as principles or policies, but I would say the belief in values for this country. We need to go back to that in order for all of us. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what sex you are, nationality, none of that matters. Is that our liberties are what's important. And we're in grave danger of losing those liberties because of ignorance.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting because I'm currently reading a book about the 1860 Republican convention and coming together, and that was the convention that nominated Lincoln.
yes.
And the impact that had moving forward, where the big favorite of going into that convention was William Seward. Mm-hmm. And you know, if you were to go on well, we all know he's going to win. But he ultimately did not have enough support to get over the top.
Exactly.
And Lincoln's folks maneuvered and got the votes where he was able to, you know, he was the dark horse.
Yes.
And to get the Republican nomination and ultimately become the first Republican president. And the Declaration of Independence and what it states and what it means. I think that was the clarion call.
Exactly. It's pretty interesting to me that, like you said, Abraham Lincoln became the first Republican president, but he also was very key in establishing the Republican Party. He and a couple other men, one in particular was Frederick Douglass.
Yes.
The person that we want to talk about tonight. He was once enslaved. His history was that he was enslaved. He escaped at maybe a teenager, early 20s, and he just reinvented himself. He taught himself to read. He was very eloquent in speech in the end, and very intelligent. He was a man of principle and purpose. He was instrumental in Lincoln's second attempt to run again as president after the Civil War, where all the states were talking seceding from the Union. He was a very key person in speaking and counseling Abraham Lincoln as what to do about the Emancipation Proclamation. And it was a good thing because having done that, Lincoln did win the second bid for president. He and Frederick Douglass became very close. And Frederick Douglass was a counselor or advisor to 5 presidents in the United States. People don't know that he was a very key person in our history. I want to say educated Lincoln about the things that were going on in the country, because there was no one else who had a better view of it, having come out of slavery himself. He could really speak to that matter, He spoke about things that we deal with today, like freedom of speech. He talked about legal immigration. He talked about limited government and parents having the right to choose what schools their kids go to. He was very key in the women's suffrage movement. He said if the women weren't free to vote and be considered full citizens, then nobody was free. So he's a very important person in our history, and I think he's overlooked a lot. And I'll just, before you ask me the question, I'll say that's why I'm running as a Frederick Douglass Republican, because his values, the values that this country was originally built on, this is what I believe in. Our country needs our values, go back to our values and that we believed in originally. There's a lot of stuff going on in the country, and I really believe, honestly, that if we do not find God in our country again, we're doomed, because we're getting so far away from morality and principles and values, even in the family. Our family's disintegrating because of other mindsets that are coming in, And we really need to get back to what our forefathers believed in. They were family men, the majority of them. They vowed their fortunes and their lives, together. They banded together so that this country could be born and live free, liberty.
Well, Frederick Douglass is certainly a key player during that era through the balance of his life.
He was. He actually was. He was I guess you would call him an ambassador to Haiti. He served as one of the consul generals for Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. He was very key in our history. His writings, if you ever get a chance to go through some of his writings, I would encourage anyone to, if they really want to know what this country was built on, read a lot of Frederick Douglass' writing. He was brilliant. And he saw this country for what it could be. He wrote I don't want to say poem, but he wrote an essay about what is 4th of July to a black man. And if anybody ever wants to read that, that's pretty interesting. He kind of held America's feet to the fire. You said in your Constitution, or you said in all your legal documents, liberty and justice for all. Why are you not believing it yourself? I believe it. Why are you not believing it? So it's if you get a chance to investigate some of his writings, you would be enlightened, and you'd see clearer what this country it was founded on. And that's what we really need to go back to. We really need to go back to those values and start voting according to our values instead of posturing with policies. You know, policies, they divide people. You know, values join people. We have people out there, whether they're Republican, Democrat, non-affiliates, whatever, unaffiliates, it doesn't matter. But values draw people together. They really do. If you believe in the family unit and someone else, it doesn't matter what color they are, what R or D or whatever is behind their name, they're going to join with you. They're going to understand. Like, yeah, my family's important to me. I can get with that. And that's really what it's all about. I'm not here to really discuss policies. I'm here to see that we understand that this is a great nation, and that as we go forward in electing our officials, we need to understand, we need to have the right kind of view. What are we looking at? Are we looking at popularity? Are we looking at titles, Republican, Democrat, or whatever? Or are we actually looking at the values? What is in your heart? What do you see for America? What is your passion? You know, I'd like to say that America needs us, all of us, to come together. Connecticut, as running for state rep for Connecticut, Connecticut needs us. We need to understand that values and principles and beliefs are important, you know, for this country. Or else this country, I don't see how this country can make it without us coming together and putting aside our prejudices and our agendas, so to speak, our personal agendas. We need to come together as Americans and stand together and go back to what this country was really about. It's a great nation. I love everything about America. And I think that when we excavate, all the garbage that's been dumped on her and fed into her, we'll see her for who she really is. She's a great nation.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I admire about you, I mean, a year ago, you stepped up to run for mayor, the highest office of our community.
Yes.
And you'd never held office, but you had high ideals and determinations, and stepped up to the plate in a big way. And although you were not successful, I think that you resonated, your campaign resonated with many folks that I think felt that they are disenfranchised in our community, and got their attention. And I think you're, again, creating that opportunity. This time, running for state rep, the 39th district, which encompasses primarily the northern part of the community. Mm. And a lot of folks are not plugged in that area. And you have an opportunity to reach out and touch them.
Marty, you said it perfectly, reach out and touch them, and that's what I love to do. I love the hands-on, let me give you a hug, how you feeling kind of approach with everyone I meet, because everyone's important. God didn't make trash. He didn't make throwaways. He made people, and they're very valuable. I love people. I love being in the community. It doesn't matter if you're holding a high office or if you're sitting on the side of the road asking for handouts. Everyone's important, and I like to interact with everyone. And that's really what's important to me, as like running for mayor, and even now running for state rep. It's the connection between the community on every level, not just a certain level, on every level. Being able to sit down in the dirt, if you will, and cry with a person, or make a few phone calls to get them into rehab, or just give them $10 and a bottle of water, whatever. It doesn't matter. No one's expendable. Everyone's important. And everyone, if you're in this community, if you're in New London, you're a citizen here. I don't care if you live under a bridge or you live in a mansion. You're a citizen here, and you have a right to be treated with respect and to be heard. And that's what people say. They say, "You see me?" I said, "Of course I see you. You're standing in front of me." But people are so used to being talked at instead of talked to. And that's what I love about New London, because just the way it's laid out, you can walk, you can meet all kinds of people, and everybody has a story, everybody has a tale to tell, and everybody has a life that they've lived and a life that they're looking forward to living. And it's important to connect with the community, not just from an office, if you will, but just on the street, going into places, bodegas, it doesn't matter. Wherever there's people, that's where I want to be.
Well, I think that your campaign for mayor reflected and reflects that, and that you bring that to the table for the state rep race as well, and that you're approachable, reasonable, and I think that this is the essence of what you're trying to accomplish. And I applaud that. I know that last year for the council and mayor that the Democrats did not reach out at all. I mean, there was opportunities to debate that they opted not to participate.
Everyone has a choice, all right? Life is made up of a string of choices, if you will. It was within their right to choose not to attend. I don't think it was beneficial for the people that they didn't attend, but it was within their right not to. We're not trying to take away rights, we're trying to establish the fact that everybody has them, and that we give them a chance to live those out, live their lives. I can't really speak about their platform, the Democrats, because that wasn't my focus, and it isn't now. My focus are the people in this community, all levels, if you will, of the people. I like the idea of representing the people. There are people who've come to me and say, "Would you please go with me to the mayor's office? Such and such is happening. I've tried reaching out. Would you please go with me? I don't know how to speak," And I said, "Sure, of course I will," To me, the word represent has to be put back into the word representative. And that's for everybody, not just for some people, for everybody. And that's really my main focus, is to represent the needs and the interests of all the people in New London, not just some.
Well, that's a critical point and consideration. And I think that you certainly bring that to the campaign for the office that you are seeking to hold. And I think the experiences that you had running for mayor gave you some insight into what is working and what is not.
True.
And what you may need to do to be successful. And I think that you bring a wealth of insight and knowledge to the race. And
well, Marty, I know people.
Yes, you do.
That's the best I can tell you.
Well, that's important. You have to know people.
I know people. I love people. I know people. To know policy and those other kinds of things, it's needed. But why fight for a particular policy or law when you don't know what the people need? You haven't asked them. And I'm not saying they're not being asked. I'm saying it is imperative that we ask the people. We observe. We ask. You can ask 10 people the same question, get 10 different answers. I realize that, but it's important to ask. And I think for me, I know this is not like the usual campaigning that people do, and I know that it's different. I'm different. I do know that I am a trailblazer, and I am a pathfinder. And if there's a way to get it done, I'll find that way. You know, again, people need to be represented, all people, and that's what I endeavor to do.
Well, that's why I enjoy giving you the opportunity to come and speak
Thank you.
on this and via this platform, because you have an opportunity to reach, I think, significantly more people via this platform
Yes, absolutely.
than
I appreciate
perhaps
it.
others. And that you have the chance to reach and touch more people at a time.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I was thinking, as you were speaking, Marty, I was thinking about Frederick Douglass, that when he was talking a lot about the rights of the people and representing the people and what their needs were, he was doing that at a time where there was a lot of fraud and discrimination amongst black people who were trying to be politically active.
Yes.
You know, I think that has not really changed a lot. I think they've had to choose sides, you know, and I believe that what the Republican Party originally stands for and has stood for has been maligned. I do. I mean, in all honesty, I think that it's been misconstrued, and I think it's been, I guess the word would be gaslit. You know, gaslit. I don't really get into the mudslinging of it, but I like the history. And if you don't know your history, you don't know how to defend it. You don't know how to defend your rights. You don't know how to defend what you believe in. If you don't know your history, it's important to know what took place. It's important to know what the issues were, who stood where on what issues, and the resolution, what happened. You know, we have to know what was ratified. The fact that people came together and created laws and Constitution and Bill of Rights, all that, we have to know not just what they talked about, but what they ratified, what they agreed on. You know, if we start talking about beliefs and values, I think we'll have less mudslinging, less name calling. I think that we'll be able to come together and kind of find a common solution. You know, it'll open up a way of conversation, you know, civil conversation amongst people. Like I said, it doesn't matter what your label is, but when you start understanding values and principles, then you can have a real heart-to-heart, a real conversation about what's really important.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I mean, when you're running for state rep, you are, in essence, running for two different, not necessarily offices, but you need to be cognizant of two different levels. You're running for a seat representing your community, which is New London.
Yeah.
But when elected, you're also representing and being asked to make decisions that impact the entire state.
Absolutely.
Beyond the little bit of north end of New London, which is what the 39th district represents.
Exactly, yeah. That's very true, Marty. If you take New London, take Connecticut,
Yes.
with the state, we'll start at the head, okay? The boss,
Yeah.
the governor. What are his values? What are his beliefs? They're evident in the things that are passed, the things that are vetoed, you know. The whole state, I've lived in many different states.
Yes.
Many different states. I've traveled a good amount. And coming back home, New London has such a blighted name from other states. They say you live in Connecticut, that's the worst place, and the taxes and blah, blah, blah. All of that, you know. Why is that? Why is that? So we have to know why that is. Why are certain things being passed or allowed or not being spoken of and not being advocated for our state? You know, I think we're one of the wealthiest states in the nation, and our cities are blighted. A lot of it. A lot of the cities in Connecticut, there's certain sectors that are not as much. So why is there such an imbalance? You know, where's the accountability? Who is, I don't want to say monitoring it, but who's watching the hen house when the foxes are running around? You know, so I think that's a really good point that you brought out about not just in my community, but in the state of Connecticut. It's a big difference. I've seen a vast difference in other states I've lived in and I've been to compared to, you know, Connecticut. And I don't want to say that's disproportionate as far as slums and so forth, but I do see a lot of things that need improvement, things that can easily be improved. I think that our best interests could be better served in Connecticut. I think new perspectives need to be looked at, different eyes looking at it. When you keep doing the same thing all the time, you get the same results. You know, if someone doesn't actually step outside of the box and say, hey, this is not how I see this. This is how I see this. You know, it could, I mean, it would benefit Connecticut. I believe it would, if fresh eyes, fresh blood, fresh ideas could be allowed. You know, I think it would definitely help Connecticut. Like I said, I love New London, but I absolutely love Connecticut. That's why I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah. Connecticut has so much to offer in the way of tourism and businesses. A lot of businesses are closing. A lot of companies are moving out to other places, maybe Mexico or out of the country. Connecticut was a very booming place. We were the first place that folks kind of landed in this New England area anyway. It has a lot of potential that has not been tapped, and it also has a lot of potential that's been wasted. And I really think we need to really look into that instead of doing the same thing and getting the same results and everyone thinking it's okay. It's not okay. That's how I feel. It's not okay.
Well, a lot of COVID money has made its way into New London from the state and feds.
True.
And much of it, not necessarily all of it, but much of it has gone into areas and programs where it's been, I would say, not been well thought out. It's been used for new programs and new personnel,
Mm-hmm.
where the budget in the local community is not, they have not been able to, you know, they've been, could have been using this for roads and curbs and things of that nature, as opposed to adding personnel. And for, you've got a one-time funding, and they're not not prepared for.
Mm-hmm. Let me just say this to you, Marty. If, say for instance, let's just dream together for a minute, okay?
Okay, let's do that.
Let's just dream. Say you own, and this is not an original thought. This was passed down to me. You owned a NFL football team.
Yep.
And you somehow were just blessed with an exorbitant amount of money. And would you spend it on getting the best player that you knew, that you believed was out there, just pay him all this filthy amount of money on this player? Or would you spend the majority of it on strategy? What do you think?
Well, I think putting it all into one player is not necessarily prudent. You need to have you need a plan.
You need a plan, exactly. And if you don't have a plan, and you do things indiscriminately, like putting all this money on this one player who can be hurt, can be injured, or have other personal problems that would make them ineligible to play, you've wasted a lot of money, right? But if you have a strategy, if you have a plan, if you don't know what the focus is, city focus, if you don't know what the focus is, the plug for you, if you don't know what the focus is, how are you going to know what the plan is? You have to have a focus, you have to have a plan. And that means you have to have a strategy to work that plan. If Connecticut, through hook, crook, and I'll say New London, for instance, is my community, through hook or crook or just plain old nepotism, is blessed with this tremendous amount of money, and there's no viable plan, no strategy in place, it's going to be wasted. It's like if you don't know the purpose of something, then you're inevitably going to abuse it. If I don't know what the purpose for this telephone is, and I start using it as a hammer, I'm going to destroy it because I'm not using it for the purpose that it was created, right? So if you create a plan, if you have a strategy, and you follow it, and of course, based on information that's coming in for the state, we're talking about the state of Connecticut, it starts from the top. Yes, say the governor can't know everything. He's not omniscient. He doesn't know everything. So he needs to be able to depend on certain people in certain places to give him accurate information. Incepts the representatives from the different communities, different cities, and they present their issues, what they need for their city. Well, then who are they speaking to, and who are they speaking in behalf of, in order to take that to the state and federal level? I think too much of the same stuff is being done. The cards are being shuffled a little bit and dealt out, and they're being shuffled and dealt, and you're getting the same cards all the time. Like I said before, I think we need a different plan. We need fresh ideas, fresh eyes, fresh insight in order to make this work better. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And I'm saying, like you said, from the state level, as a state representative, we're supposed to be holding the purse strings for our community. That's part of it. That's part of our job, to be able to advocate for our cities or our communities that we represent, and to see to it that what the needs are in our community, and this is my understanding, what the needs of our community are, and to see that everyone gets a fair share. Not people, and in my estimation, not the same people and organizations getting the lion's share, and other things like roads. Am I correct in understanding that we pay our personal taxes for our and that's to go towards our car taxes to go for the roads to be fixed, right? We pay car taxes, and those tax money is supposed to be used to fix our roads. Is that correct?
No, I mean our car taxes actually are it's a local.
On the local level, yes.
Well, it goes locally. So I mean that goes into the general fund, and it's part of the revenue that the city gets.
Exactly.
It's not something that is a state tax.
No, it's not a state tax. I understand that. That is not a state tax. But I guess my point is that when we do pay our car taxes, why do we have sinkholes in our community?
Well, that's because the city has made a decision
Okay.
not to fund properly their maintenance for roads.
Okay. So from the state level, do we receive any funding for to supplement our roads, our water? We have water issues also.
Well, the utility is a separate fund, and so you have water, sewer, stormwater,
Stormwater, yes, that's a big issue.
and that's a separate fund, and that's local. Again, it's not something with the state.
Okay. I guess my point is that whenever we go to the state for our funding, we present, this is what we need for our community, I guess my point is that I'm questioning myself if the needs are being heard, if they're being met. We get things. I see a lot of, I'm not against police funding. I'm not against that at all, per se, just for conversation's sake right now. And for education, I see all that in our budget, our budget. Like you said, a lot of the COVID money came down and from state and federal, and it went certain places. Recently, I heard COVID money came that was on tap. It was here. It went for something where we thought all the COVID money had been used up, But it did come out of the Treasury to fund something to take care of a particular problem. So I guess my issue is that we need to be more aware of what the state is doing as far as the monies that are being dispersed. Are they certain pocketbooks that money needs to go into based on the needs of the community, right? It all trickles down from the top, and I'm really looking into state money coming into the city. I'm very much interested in that and where it goes and how often it goes to that particular entity. I guess that's why I'm asking you all these questions to see if you know.
Well, I think that when it comes to, the state of Connecticut provides significant funding for our general government and our education.
Yes.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
True.
But we have also received, on top of that, COVID monies that I would argue have been misused and gone into programs that you've got one-shot deals. You don't get COVID money every year.
True. That's true.
One time. And if they're putting it into programs that have need additional funding year to year, on top of the infusion of the COVID year, where's the funding going to come from? It's going to come from our local tax dollars.
Exactly.
And it was not, you're not getting the money each year.
On a regular basis, yeah. I absolutely understand what you're saying, and I agree. One-shot deal, and then you have to maintain it with local tax dollars.
That's correct.
That's a problem. My question is was there certain criteria? Again, you get a lump sum of money, like we did this little dreaming thing with the football team.
Yep.
You get a lump sum of money, and do you put it into a one-shot deal like a player or a particular program that's still going to need to be infused later on down the road, or do you spread it in places that it takes care of the need right then and there? I mean, we have a say-so in that. As the people, we should know that we have a say-so in that. It may sound a little far-fetched at this juncture, but in my understanding, a state representative represents the interests of the people in their community, in their state. To be a voice to the state, to the federal government, to the state, and really say what's needed in our community. I don't pretend to know all about the do's and don'ts and ins and outs of the job, but I'm a quick learner. And I think that being on the outside, for the time that I've been on the outside looking in, I still stand with what I said originally, is that I believe that it needs new eyes. It needs new eyes to look at it, and a determination not to quit, not to give up until things are better, are made better. I know that that's a fight. Yeah. I know going into this that, and I don't mean with the incumbent, I mean just generally speaking, going to the state, being in the state legislation. I know that as a woman of color, a woman who is over 21, a little bit, I know that that's, and who does not have a political background, which is, to me, is a plus, because I don't really have any loyalties to any kind of set notions. I look at people, I look at needs, I look at solutions. I'm a solution-based person, and I might make a lot of waves there. I intend to, only because I feel that New London, my community, needs to be heard.
I think we need a new independent thinker in this position.
I agree.
And I think you have an opportunity to be that individual. The incumbent, from my observation, he just carries the water of what the party leadership in Hartford tells him to do. Well, and that is, we can do better.
Well, I'll say this about that, Marty. The incumbent is a respected man in this community, and I definitely respect him, and I acknowledge and am glad for all that he's put in this community. I really do. I'm not looking at what he did or did not do. I'm looking at what I believe needs to be done and what I intend to do, and what I feel needs to be done for this community. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And he's doing his thing, and I'm doing mine.
Yeah, well, that's, like I say, I think that you bring a different skill set to the table, and I'm supporting your candidacy because I think you bring a lot of new ideas and to the table, and I sincerely hope that you'll be successful over the course of this campaign.
Well, one of my, I wouldn't call her a superhero, but a woman of real interest to me in her life was Shirley Chisholm. And she was a fireball.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of more like a Clark Kent. And when I need to be Superwoman, I put on the cape. I'm ready and willing to do that for this community. And I just look forward to the challenge and to, like you say, bring the new ideas, the new mindset. I understand that it's a plowing that's taking place. We've been set a certain way in this area for a long time. And I do know that I'm plowing a different path than what most people do. And it's okay with me. It's okay with me. It's not bad to be in a regional. It's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I think so.
So I just really appreciate you having me back. I think your following, the people that watch your programs, they get good content on every kind of topic you can imagine, and I really enjoy that. And I just hope that we can do this again.
Well, I think we will. But I want to thank you for carving out an hour this evening to share your thoughts on your campaign and on Juneteenth, and also your admiration for I'm losing my mind here.
Your mind is good.
I just, I think that you're a good candidate for the seat, and that we will have an opportunity to, as time evolves, to
we'll talk more.
We will have an opportunity to expand upon our thoughts, and
I look forward to that. You know, it's always enlightening to come here because you and I have our little conversations before the camera goes on, and I always learn a lot from you. I really appreciate it because you've been in this field a long time, politics, and I really appreciate your input and giving me the opportunity to come and share. And I think your heart is for this community as well as mine. Your heart is that you've been here a while, and you've poured your life into this community, and I really appreciate that. You know, you've done a good job here.
Well, thank you for your kindness, but we'll pick it up next time.
Sounds good.
And again, I want to thank you for coming in. And
my pleasure.
And folks, you've been watching City Focus, and we'll be back next week. Roger Bidwell's my guest next week, so we'll have a more of a sports theme next week. But I want to thank Beloved for coming in, and folks, we'll see you next week on City Focus.
Sounds good.
Good night.